SBC Media.
Welcome to the iGaming Daily Podcast, analysing the news from the betting and gaming industry all over the globe, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market.
Brazil remains to be the top topic to be discussed in the gaming industry for Latin America, and while the toy will bend and not break, the segment remains very concerned about what will happen with taxation in the coming weeks or even months. Welcome to iGaming Daily. My name is Fernando Noodt, your host for today and media manager for SBC, and to discuss everything related to Brazil, I'm with Elisa Marcante and Maria Menezes, business journalists for SBC Noticias Brazil. Girls, how are you today?
All good, thank you, Fer. You?
All good, all good. How are you, Ana?
All good after being a bit sick for the weekend, but all good. We're gonna look past through this.
Yeah, definitely. It's that time of the year here in the Southern Hemisphere, at least in South America, because yes. I was sick last week. Now you're coming from a flu as well. So it's that time of the year where like the temperature kind of shifts and it goes really low all of a sudden and catches you off guard. And yeah, it's tough. So you have to carry a jacket at all times, and you have to open your windows as well, because people usually link flu and sickness or illnesses to the cold, but it's actually a matter of like the germs and bacteria, like
the virus.
Open your windows.
When it's cold, you are like all locked up, and that's where the bacteria thrives and gets you sick. But speaking of illnesses, some consider taxation an illness, and that's what Brazil is discussing right now, as there's some serious changes proposed for the Brazilian taxation model. So we will cover that in today's episode, which is sponsored by Optimove, as always, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. And now, moving on to the actual news. After only 6 months, like I said, of the market regulation, we've been talking about this for some episodes now. After only 6 months of the new market's operation, taxation could be changed in Brazil, and the industry has some serious concerns about it, as we have been discussing in the previous episode. So after you listen to this one, you may as well go back and listen to some of the previous episodes. But Ana, there has been some new developments around this.
Yes. So since they proposed the increase in the gross gaming revenue tax rate from 12% to 18%, the industry has been pretty vocal about why they should not do this tax hike, if I can say it this way, because the public coffers could suffer a loss up to 2.8 billion reais. And the National Association of Games and Lotteries, as we call it, ANJL, estimates basically that if the tax hike is actually confirmed, a big portion of the regulated companies in Brazil will withdraw from entering the regulated market. And not only that, new companies that are willing to come and be part of the regulated market as well. And as a result for that, as we mentioned, the government would miss out on 2.4 billion in license fees alone. So not even considering the other taxes that need to be paid, which are already pretty big. And an additional 4 million reais would also not be invested in government bonds, as it is required by the legalization process. And just to put this into perspective a bit more, this total amount corresponds to the industry revenue collection between January and May of this year. So if we're understanding that, the government will lose so much money with that. And it's money that it's needed, as we talked in the last episode, and you guys should listen to that. And just last week, the news outlet Folha reported that a report should have been presented actually to the finance minister, Fernando Noodt, and by the main betting operators currently active in the country. We don't have so far informations in more depth about it, but we're going to have to hashtag wait and see what comes out of this presentation, because this document includes research conducted by different associations, and it takes into account 289 license applications currently being processed by the Prices and Betting Secretariat. So yeah, hashtag wait and see fit.
Yeah, wait and see, but also subscribe to SBC Noticias Brazil newsletter, because that's where you will see, after the waiting part,
Yes.
you will see what's going on, because this report, to be filed by Fernando Noodt, it has been, announced a few days ago already. So we are still waiting for news about it, but being I think it's probably one of the top ministers in the government, like in terms of importance for the Lula government. So, I think it's very big that he's, behind this submission, but no news yet. But if you want to see as soon as they come, you will see them on SBC Noticias Brazil. So you better subscribe to the newsletter. And, speaking of the ANJL, or the organization bringing together the industry, it has also stepped up to respond to a study that had targeted the industry in a bad way, Elisa.
Yes, exactly. The ABES, which is Brazil's Association of Private Higher Education Institutions, published a study claiming that 34% of Brazilians postponed their college plans this year because of money spent on online betting. But ANJL released a statement saying that the study is full of contradictions and that's unfair to blame the industry for delays in higher educations. So according to data the ANJL had access to, 79% of people said they didn't give up on education, like courses or language learning, because of sports betting. They argue that betting is entertainment, not investment, and shouldn't be painted as something that is ruining people's futures. They also pointed out that 70% of those respondents said that they had recovered the money they spent on betting, and the most of them spend less than 5% of their monthly income on it. So that's like the informations they share on media. Even they study, sometimes they want to people to see from another perspective than what really is. So this one thing ANJL was saying it. And also people were like trying to understand what was the motivation of this research, because the president of ABMES is a partner in the betting company Bateu Bet. So what's the point of doing a research saying things that's not true from our industry, and still he's a partner from a betting company? So we don't get that.
Yeah, it's actually strange. It's actually pretty strange that coming from the industry itself, it's such an ill-intended study. It's something that's pretty curious, and maybe something to look into. Yeah,
for sure. And just to finish this topic, ANJL said only a regulated market can ensure integrity. And misleading information like this hurts both the industry and the society. So, hashtag wait and see for Brazil, right, Anna? Because we never know what can happen.
Yeah, it looks like this is just a little side note to a much larger story going on, which is that how the Brazilian market continues to develop, continues to evolve. Of course, like we said, it's going through some struggles that go beyond these type of things. The taxation thing is a very much concerning issue for the gaming industry, as it could turn people into the illegal market instead of betting on the regulated market. So it's definitely, like you said, Eli, a dangerous thing to have a study like this without that much of actual background or actual information behind it. So it's very important that the industry stays alert to respond to this type of studies or comments or negative feedback from different segments. And again, it's really curious that this comes from someone that's actually part of the industry itself. But I think it's very important that the ANJL and the industry in general respond to this type of developments. But moving on, the government continues to work on setting a national standard also for the gaming industry, which is very much needed, because there's like a lot of debate and discussions whether municipalities can do their own regulation lotteries or state lotteries and all that. Like we used to say on the podcast, blame Michel Temer for his the way they enforce regulation back then. But Anna, the government continues to try and work on the national standard through the SPA.
Yes. So as Elisa mentioned, we never know what's coming. However, this is something that the Prices and Betting Secretariat, as we're going to call it, SPA, is trying to change. So they're actually trying to create the Sistema Nacional de Apostas, SINAPO, which is the national betting system. And we have talked to Regis Udena, so he's the secretary, and he gave us an exclusive view on how the development is going with this working group. So the federal government invited all states and the federal district to collaborate on the initiative, with 16 federal units currently participating. It's a closed group. So there's no space for other states to come in now. And according to Regis Udena, the goal is to have the project ready for the implementation by the end of the second half of this year. So we're going to see until maybe the end of the year some developments on that. And they had an initial meeting in April, and the Secretariat has been organizing further discussions to define some minimum requirements for states to participate in this national betting system. So the goal is basically to share information, to protect the companies and the players as well, and to really set the bar on what's legal and what's illegal, which is something that we have been struggling with. And we saw some developments on that with Lotergi, the lottery of Rio de Janeiro. We saw that as well with the municipal lottery of Bodó in Rio Grande do Norte. So we have lots of cases setting precedents, and this needs to be taken care of. Otherwise, it's just chaos. So the SPA is trying to do that, to ensure that chaos doesn't happen. So therefore, creating some boundaries for state operations as well. So the idea is that only states that meet a defined set of minimum criteria will be eligible to join SINAPO, so the national betting system. And while these requirements are still under discussion, they are aiming to ensure that regulatory consistency and player protection are set goals. So we already know that these two are very set goals from the beginning. And in exchange for this compliance, the federal government intends to offer participating states to access tools such as the exclusive .bet.br domain, which is already used by regulated platforms, and also a centralized self-exclusion system, which again, pretty important. So it's exchange of data, and in return, you get to be part of more of a safe environment and a more regulated environment as well. And as Fer mentioned, with the with the municipal lotteries, the Secretariat was very clear to state that in his vision and in the vision of the government, they are illegal. But again, hashtag wait and see, because there is a bit of a bridge that's being used by non-national municipal lotteries to operate. Again, hashtag wait and see. But this is the prediction for the second half of this year, to have this betting system organized.
We will surely keep an eye on this national standard that the government is trying to set. But now, moving on from Brazil, Elisa, you have made your Spanish-speaking debut, as you have recently interviewed Sebastián Salazar from Stellar Bet. Why don't you very briefly tell us about that?
Yes, of course. So he's the founder of Stellar Bet. And we talked about how operators can create personalized experience by using local nuances. The topic is related to the panel he's participating in the SBC Summit in Lisbon this year, in September. And for him, it's essential to adapt the content to the local market because it brings the operator closer to the audience, even if the company is from another country. So from his perspective, Brazil is one of the biggest challenges because the language is different from Portugal's, and every Brazilian state has its own unique habits and cultural nuances. And this might make things a bit harder, but also gives an opportunity to win the market little by little, as he said. And also, I would like to thank Lucia Gando, the editor of Noticias, because as you, Fer, mentioned, I interviewed him in Spanish. It was my second Spanish interview. No problem. But it was my second, but it was the first time I wrote the article to publish on Noticias. It was very nice doing this. It was a big opportunity, and I really want to thank Lugando. I know she's gonna listen the podcast after. So I want to thank you, Lu, and I want to say that I really appreciate the opportunity. So yeah, it was a big step for me.
Okay, so make sure you go to sbcnoticias.com and read the interview with Sebastián Salazar from Stellar Bet. And right now we will make a very brief commercial break, and we'll be right back with more information on the rest of Latin America outside Brazil.
SBC Leaders connects the gambling industry's top-tier operators and associations to share the best ideas, collaborate on solving the biggest issues, and push innovation throughout the betting and gaming industry. If you're an operator and want to join the discussion, visit sbcleaders.com for more information.
And we're back with iGaming Daily, and let me welcome Damian Martinez, business journalist for SBC Noticias, to continue discussing the gaming landscape in Latin America. Damian, how are you today?
Everything's good today, Firm. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you, and very concerned or very interested in what's going on in Uruguay as we just dive into the news, because there are some... like many other countries, they are pushing for responsible gaming related regulation down in Uruguay. And so why don't you just let us know what's going on?
Yes, Fer. The Uruguayan Chamber of Deputies has begun debating a bill that seeks to restrict the operations of traditional casinos in order to combat problem gambling. The proposal introduces a profound reform of the regulation of land-based gambling. Under this new law, from Monday through Friday, casinos must close at midnight, reopening at 10 a.m., while on weekends and holidays, they may operate until 5 a.m.
Yeah, it's a very common place to go, like the time limits for land-based casinos. And also something we mention a lot here is that you may enforce regulation or you may pass regulation, but as long as you don't enforce it, it's going nowhere. And actually, I was just seeing that these time restrictions will also be backed by sanctions and fines, or even the possibility of revoking the licenses in case of non-compliance, or in case any casinos break these time limitations. And besides the time limits, there's also a requirement proposed to install visible digital clocks, the use of natural light and ventilation in gaming rooms, and the elimination of ATMs inside casinos, in order to reduce immediate access to money and minimize problem gambling. This last bit is something very common as well in other jurisdictions of Latin America.
Yes, fair. And also another element of the bill is the ban of scratch cards. You know, the instant win format that, according to some experts from Uruguay, has an addictive mechanism. This measure seeks to limit the constant attraction of these games, which are available on shelves and counters of convenience stores. Every news media outlet from Uruguay says that the deputies emphasize that the initiative already has political and technical support and comes at a time of growing concerns in the country about the effects of unregulated gambling.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to wait and see, but subscribe to sbcnoticias.com newsletter, because you will get to see firsthand whenever something else goes on in Uruguay. And of course, we will cover it here on iGaming Daily as well. But we were speaking of taxation in Brazil a while ago, and now there has been some new updates in Peru, where it's also a very important topic at the moment.
Yes, the Peruvian government, led by President Dina Boluarte, decided to veto the bill approved by Congress on June 12. The bill proposed modifying the tax system applied to online sportsbooks, and the president argued that this decision was made because the project would cause, and I quote, serious fiscal damage and weaken the regulatory powers over the gambling industry.
Yeah, one of the things that was brought up by legislators or lawmakers during the debate of this new measure was that it was needed to correct the distortions generated by legislative decree 1644, which introduced the ISC, or the selective consumption tax, for let's put it as foreign companies, because of course, the regulation in Peru taxes both local companies and companies that don't have a legal address in Peru, but can also operate in the country. So this ISC tax was only applied to them, to those that didn't have a legal address in Peru, applying a 1% rate even on bets made by with promotional bonuses. And of course, since the tax went into effect, it had been decided to begin applying it at a rate of 0.3% until June 30th. So after June 30th, it would go up and then continue to go higher and higher until the 1%.
Yes, and furthermore, the project also eliminated the ability of the National Superintendency of Custom and Tax to require payment of the tax from international-based platforms, like you mentioned, and eliminated the executive branch authority to modify the ISC rates by repealing the minimum and maximum margins provided by law.
We'll definitely have to keep an eye on what's going on in Peru, but right now we have run out of time. Keep an eye, like I said, on svcnoticias.com. Subscribe to the newsletter, because we will have conversations with experts in Peruvian legislation and taxation. Big shout out to our friend Carlos Fonseca Sarmiento, and expect to read from him in the coming days. Dami, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Elisa and Anna, who were on the first half of the episode, and Anaya McDonald for producing this episode. To our listeners out there, we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to today's iGaming Daily podcast, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. If you want to find out more about some of the subjects raised today, feel free to explore any of the sites in the SBC News network, or check out the latest edition of the SBC Leaders magazine. Happy reading.